All right, welcome everyone to the show. Once again, we are the Off the Cuff Show. I am Anthony. Everybody calls me AB, and this is my good friend, the neuroscience genius, Miss Joy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm excited about today's topic because we get to see where it's going to head.
That's right. That's right. Joy, today's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, no, it won't be. But it's going to be good, though. I think it's going to be information that everybody needs. And we always want to add worth to everyone who's working with young people, no matter who you are. But I do want them to do this: like, subscribe, and all the good stuff, right? Joy, is that what we're
going to do? Yeah, ring the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. And I don't even know if that exists anymore. You know, I'm old.
Oh, man. I'm old school, too. I don't even know.
Visit us on MySpace.
There you go.
Today's subject, Joy, it's a good one. I think it's one that's very necessary. Today's subject is quick decisions versus smart decisions. So I was talking to a student the other day who had been through some things, got into a big fight, and that kind of escalated from there to when they were sitting in front of me. And one of the things that the student said was, "Hey, look, man, I was doing fine. I was doing great. I was following all the calm down techniques and all that stuff. But then something happened and I just kind of went there. And I stopped thinking at that point. I was no longer thinking. And I ended up getting into a fight. Now, of course, that fight gave me more consequences. I think ISS and suspension and things like that were a result of it. But one of the things that he did say that was interesting to me was, man, I made the decision on the spur of the moment. I was really trying, but at that point, you know, they took me to that next level. And I had to decide at that point, okay, hey, forget it. I'm going here, and there's no turning back. And I think, Joy, that a lot of us have been there. Even as adults, we've been there. You have a coworker or someone who pushes you to the next level. It was very hard for him to make that decision on the spur of the moment. So what we try to do is to train them so that when those situations happen, we're able to handle them when they come.
From a neuro world, it's so typical. 90 to 95% of our decisions we make every day are automatic. And those are literally based off of emotions. They're based off of learned behaviors, and they're based off of those past experiences. So many times we just walk through our day unaware that we're making decisions. And there's a fast and a slow system. It's the deliberate and the automatic system. What's crazy is that deliberate system, that slower system, requires a lot of cognitive bandwidth. And when you're exhausted, when you're overwhelmed, when someone's stressing you out, you will automatically go to your automatic system. That's your fast system. And it's almost like, have you ever gotten up to drive to work and you get to work and you don't remember the drive? You're like, whoa, how did I get here? I go to a lot of different places during the week. But when I was going to one place every day, my car would just drive there. It almost felt like automatically. Now, when I get in the car, I have to go, okay, wait, which highway am I taking? Am I going north, south, east, west? And that's really, it challenges you to kind of not fall into those automatic pathways. But it's normal. It's one of those pieces that's normal. And we need the skill of metacognition to pull us out of it. So this is why when we're stressed, we may reach for a cigarette, but we want to stop smoking. Or this is why we're stressed, we may reach for Reese's peanut butter cups. Or while we're stressed, we may reach for what we know we don't want, but it's automatic because it's based off of those emotions, those learned behaviors, and also those past experiences. What's worked? What's successful? Hey, you got a minute? Because that's all the average American has is 1 minute. Our attention spans are so short that we really don't have time to focus on anything else. But here's what's crazy. We know more about how our cell phones work than our brains work. But who has time to dive deep into neuroscience? You do. 1 minute a day. Dive in. Just, hey, you got a minute. Neuro Minutes to Microdose Neuroscience. Grab a copy. Change your life 1 minute a day.
And go and get the book. It's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, all right. So back in the day, we had these things, but they were less advanced than this. We had this thing called a VCR. Do you remember that, Joy? You may be too
I
young.
do remember that.
Yeah, and we had these things called VHS tapes. They went into the VCR, and we had remote controls that were a lot less advanced than this. I remember remote control that we had a play button, we had a rewind button, and we had a fast forward button. And so I know that's a prehistoric analogy to use for a student, but he actually understood it because I said, man, on the fast forward, you can think about what you will do in the future. And that's what we're working on now so that you won't make the same mistakes over and over again. We can dwell on the past a little bit, think about the past so that we won't repeat what we've done in the past. This is what I can do better. But the true power is in the play button. The play button represents what's going on in the moment. And that's where we got to, like, hey, what can we decide right now? What can we make a decision on right now that would better our decisions in the future? And that seemed to really click with the student. And I hope it was very helpful to him.
Most definitely. And I think we need to understand, that the brain doesn't really want us to change. So the brain will sabotage us. So I love what you're saying about setting those pathways for the future. The brain likes things to be automatic. And that's why it's so easy to fall back on those old pathways, even for an addict who's been sober for 2 or 3 months. They can fall back into it when stress gets too big. So something to remind, us all, and all of us need to remember this. And when we're trying to change a pattern, a habit, is that our past experiences create our brain's predictions.
Mm.
And that's what creates the automatic pathways. Now, here's what's amazing. The experiences you have today create your predictions for tomorrow.
Mm.
So if you continue to keep drilling into being aware, metacognitive, that you want to change this pathway, your brain will correct its predictions based on successful implementation over time. But just have a plan as well, Anthony, for when your brain sabotages, what you're going to do. Always have a plan for sabotage. And what that means is when I find that I can't use those resources, those strategies that you tell me to use. And I hear this a lot with teachers is, Joy, I sat down with the child and I said, what do you need when you're angry? And he gave me 3 things he wanted to do. I said, great. And I wrote them on a piece of paper and he didn't use them. Well, he's not going to. You have to be the adult and lend your frontal lobes to them to help them use it in a time of stress when their automatic pathways is trying to push them over the edge. So yeah, you did the front work. You are successful when they can do the work without you in times of stress. That's when you throw your hands up and you say, it's set. And even then, there's going to be some glitches, and that's okay. We got the rewind button. We're going to dust it off, learn from our past, and have our plan for sabotage.
This is one of those slow grow type things. And this is what I want them to also know is that it's not a cookie cutter situation where one solution works every time. This is stuff that, what works for this young person may not work for this young person. So this may be something that you want to try over here. And then don't be afraid to try new things. There may be something out there that you will discover works really well for that particular child because you know that particular child. What I've noticed is many times what works for me and young people is role plays. I know that sounds crazy, but being able to act in a role play type situation seems to actually bring some understanding to them, like, oh man, I have never been on the other side of the bullying, or I have never been I've been the recipient. They did this to me, but when I place myself in their shoes, then there's a degree of empathy that comes there, and then there's some understanding. So it's like, oh, I actually feel sorry for the person that's behaving in the manner that they're behaving. So role plays have worked for me.
They have that empathy because someone like you has shown it to them, right? So we do have some kids who just don't have empathy because it hasn't been shown to them, it hasn't developed. But I think that, and that's where in the kid works, right? So a simple way is I I work a lot with younger students as well, and they would say, we had a child who kept stealing from her teacher. And I said, let's write a story. Mary Grace saw this $20 bill in her teacher's purse, and she took it, and her teacher was so sad. And the little girl is sitting beside me. Her name is not Mary Grace. And I said, what should Mary Grace do? And she said, keep it. And it was like, but her teacher is sad. And she said, but Mary Grace is happy. And I was like, this is okay. So let's rewind. I can't lay on empathy there because Mary Grace is still in an egocentric view that if it makes me happy, you may look sad, but they project that. You feel like if I'm happy, everybody's happy. And that's a very egocentric part. That's theory of the mind. And look, that's late to develop too in a lot of these kids. But it was the cutest thing. She had these big eyes and she's like, she's happy. And it was like, but baby, that's a felony. No.
And you know, Joy, what you could do in that situation, you could express how wonderful that is, because that's critical thinking in her own little mind. She thought about that thing and said, yeah, but I'm happy. And you were able, the adult, the professional, you were able in that moment to say, this is why that may not be the best scenario, best outcome for this individual. You were there, the adult.
The adult.
You, man, if you can find a successful young person, you will just about find an adult every time. Somewhere in their DNA down the line, somewhere, an older person was assisting them in guidance and in guiding them to these answers that they need. Joy,
and it just takes one. Just takes one. One
takes
solid adult. It doesn't take a lot for a human brain to connect and really learn. So yeah, 100%.
And that's why we are here, Joy. That's why we're here, because we truly believe that one adult can make the difference. And if we're saying something that makes sense to you or not, leave some comments. Let us know if there's something you may think that we should bring up in the future, because we want to add worth. If we can help one person, then that one person can help two people, that two people can help four, and so on and so on. And we're going to start a chain reaction of assisting people. And then we're going to have a better future, because the young people that we're working with and what we're talking about are not our tomorrows. They're literally our todays. And we want to make better young people, better old people. I don't want to say old because that makes me feel like I'm over the hill. Joy, you're only 20 years old, so you understand.
Only 20 years old after middle age.
But that's our show for today. Yeah. And always remember, Joy, be kind.
Be curious.
And keep showing up.
Bye, y'all.
I wrote a book. Go check it out. Now, the book is called How to Eat an Elephant. And the old adage, of course, is one bite at a time. It's a book about young people and how to work with youth of today. But it's more about you, the adult, the person that cares for the young person, the advocate, the person that works with young people all the time. I want you to check it out.
Finally, a book written by someone who's walked the walk and not only talks the talk. Real talk. Deuces.